A lot of good topics that we're going to speak to you today. I got a dear friend of mine that actually spoke at my school, and he has a topic that I think is definitely relevant in today's age, especially when it comes to the image of the fraternity as well as the image of our culture. So I definitely got a treat for you guys.
The following scholarships and grants will be awarded by our committee here today. District Scholar of the Year, both graduate and undergraduate, the Founders Memorial Scholarship, the Grand Bosses Award, the George E. Mears Memorial Scholarship, the H. Carl Moultrie Legal Scholarship, and the W. Montague Cause Medical Scholarship Award, as well as one graduate grant. I'm going to quickly go over the guidelines, brothers. For the Founders Memorial Scholarship, here's your background. To commemorate the founding of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated by brothers Edgar A. Love, Oscar J. Cooper, Frank Coleman, and Ernest E. Just. This scholarship was established to recognize the scholastic achievements of undergraduate and graduate brothers. Now, what I'm going to say about the Founders Memorial Scholarships, and before I even get into that, we were pleased that we had quite a few submissions this year, and we were even more pleased that 6 of those submissions had a 3.9 GPA or higher, and 1 had a 4.0. For the Founders Memorial Scholarship from the graduate perspective, that winner would be Brother Andre Small, Gamma 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 chapter with a 3.94 GPA. For the Founders Memorial Scholarship from the undergraduate side, we have Brother Jaquai Halliburton from Sigma chapter with 3.1 GPA. Have the Grand Bosses Award. This award is presented in recognition of the former Grand Bosselai of the fraternity. The Grand Bosses Award was established to provide financial assistance to graduating seniors who have demonstrated academic excellence throughout their undergraduate years. I'm going to point on the eligibility so that you brothers understand. An undergraduate brother who is of senior standing, graduating during the spring or summer semesters of the application year, enrolled full-time in a 4-year accredited institution, in good financial standings at all levels, in good standings with the collegiate institution, and has at least a cumulative grade point average of 3.3 on the 4.0 scale. This year, our Grand Bosses Award recipient is Brother Sam Moreku from Zeta Epsilon chapter 3.3 GPA. The George E. Mears Memorial Scholarship was established for the support of graduate study in social work, social sciences, and criminal justice. Our recipient this year out of Theta Xi chapter, Brother Kyle Bright with a 3.76 GPA. We have the H. Carl Moultrie Legal Scholar Award. The H. Carl Moultrie Legal Scholar Award was established to support the study in the field of law for brothers who have demonstrated academic excellence throughout their professional legal education years while actively supporting the cardinal principles of the fraternity. This year's recipient is Brother Kenneth T. Little. He's at Loyola University School of Law, and he's a first-year student. Is someone here to represent Brother Kenneth T. Little? Next, we have the Cobb Medical School Scholar Award, which is awarded to a student who is seeking medical. And that recipient won last year, actually, and also represented the 10th District and won on the international level. So he's a repeat winner, Brother Arthur Boyd III. A graduate grant award for the year will go to Brother Bakari Baker in recognition of your outstanding academic excellence throughout your graduate studies. Is Brother Baker present? No, let's give him a hand in here. Representatives, Scholar of the Year. The District Scholar of the Year Award is the top academic honor at the district level. As a means of stimulating scholarship among undergraduate members of the fraternity, the District Scholar of the Year and 10th District Representative Scholar of the Year was created to recognize those brothers who have displayed academic excellence. Those requirements were brothers that were at least of sophomore standing or in graduate studies, enrolled full-time in a 4-year accredited college institution, in good financial standings at all academic levels, in good standings with the collegiate institution, and had at least a GPA, cumulative GPA of 3.3 on the 4.0 scale. This year's winner is represented from New Kai chapter, Brother Ken Evans with a 3.91 GPA. It is our 10th District Scholar of the Year from the undergraduate perspective. None other than Anthony Williams. 3.5 GPA. All of these awardees will be representing the 10th District at the International Leadership Conference in Jacksonville, Florida. Thank you.
This brother that I got coming up next is a dear friend of mine. He actually came to speak at my school at Eastern Illinois University, and we chopped it up after he did his speech. And I mean, like literally, I made a friend in this, bro. He, set me out, got me something to eat, took me to where I need to be, and ever since then I kept in touch with him. He was supposed to speak at the fall council, but due to the lack of undergraduates that struggle, I told him to hold off because he has a real message that everyone needs to hear, and I wanted all the undergraduates to be here to hear it. Brother Rashid Ali Cromwell, Esquire, is one of the leading authorities on fraternity and sorority life on college campuses. He provided training, consulting, workshops, and dynamic campus-wide presentations to thousands of students and administrators at over 200 colleges and universities in 36 states in the area of Black Greek-led organizations. He currently teaches at Fraternal Values and Leadership Series at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and taught a Black Greek leadership class at The Ohio State University. He graduated from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University with a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. At AET, he served as student government president and vice bosses of the Psi chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He graduated with his Juris Doctorate from Texas Southern University and later served as a federal law clerk in U.S. Federal District Court in the Southern District of Texas. He later founded and is currently president of Harbor Institute, an educational consulting firm based out of Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. Brothers, can you rise right now and receive this brother, Brother Rashid Ali Cromwell, Esquire.
Good afternoon, brothers. Good afternoon, brothers.
Good afternoon.
I'm very happy to be here today in the talented 10th. I bring you greetings from the 3rd District, which is Washington, D.C. and Virginia. I bring you greetings from my graduate chapter, Kappa Psi, in Washington, D.C. And I come before you very enthused, very excited, and very blessed to be here to share a few moments with you today. I started this program by asking our elders for permission to speak because that's an African tradition. Let me say tradition. And when you enter a room, you're supposed to ask your elder for permission to speak because that person is the wisest with the most wisdom and experience in the room. And many of our traditions, many of our protocol in the fraternity, we derive from our African traditions, and it's always important to maintain that, preserve that, and respect that. This occasion is very special to me specifically because I graduated from North Carolina A&T State University. A&T is currently the largest historically Black college in the country. We have about 12,000 students overall. I know for some of you at large D1 schools, that's relatively small, but for us, that's a lot of Black people at one school. But the other reason that I'm excited is because Dr. Ronald McNair is initiated into our fraternity in Psi, December 4th, 1969. And going to that campus as an engineering major, the building that I studied my undergraduate studies is named after Dr. Ronald McNair, and our chapter every year celebrated that. So the principles and the history that you read on that sheet was very real to me, very special to me, and very important in the brotherhood. So I'm thankful to be here. I want to thank brothers that I've seen and had the blessed opportunity to meet along the way. I'm just thankful to be here. And I know we're on limited time, but I wanted to share a few things with you that I think are relevant for all the brothers in the room, not just undergraduate or graduate brothers, for all the brothers in the room. And it revolves around this topic called, where do we go from here, chaos or community? Chaos or community. Now, for some of the brothers in this room, that title may seem very familiar to you because it's the title of Dr. Martin Luther King's last book that he wrote before he was killed. It was published in June of 1967. He began the draft in January, February of 1967 when he was on vacation in Jamaica. And it was the first time he actually had the opportunity, after the successes in the movement, to really assess where we were as African Americans overall, where we were headed based on the progress that we had made, and some of the predictions that he made going into the future. One of the premises that he really laid out in this book was that as we continue to actually move forward with the progress that we had made, there would be some challenges. Infrastructure-wise, there would be some resistance, and not everyone would be happy to see us continually moving forward as a community. Strangely enough, almost 50 years later, if you watch the news, now it seems almost, unfortunately, on a monthly basis, there's an African American male killed through police brutality, killed through physical violence, killed in 2015. When you hear names like Michael Brown, when you hear names like Eric Garner, when you hear names like Walter Scott in North Charleston, South Carolina, you almost retrogress and seem like you're going backwards in time when we're dealing with some of the issues that we currently deal with today. What's interesting is none of these issues are new, just the fact that they've been captured on smartphones happened to get the attention of the media and people around. Talking about our ancestors and our elders, they know far more than we do and are very aware of the history of some of the challenges that we face. So what does that mean as Omega Men? When we're facing these challenges, when we have to make a choice between chaos or community. And I couldn't help but reflect as I watch these things continuously devolve in my presence with regard to our diminished social justice issues and where we are as a people. I couldn't help but think and start to reflect. Before we can begin to talk about what we do as Omega Men for our community, we have to honestly first evaluate how we treat each other as Omega Men within our community. For a fraternity that's established on the motto, friendship is essential to the soul, many times, or more often than not, we experience as brothers hostility towards one another, when the essence of who we are and what we're supposed to be about is so much more. How did we get to this point in 2015 where we're having to second guess another Omega, where we have to really kind of ascertain whether they're quote unquote good, when we examine where we come from and we put more barriers up between ourselves than are necessary, required, or honestly even present. What do I mean? Well, we start asking, what district are you from? And then what part of what district are you from? Are you from a single letter chapter? Are you from a double letter chapter? Are you undergrad or are you grad? What year did you go over? How did you go over? What did you do to go over? And the whole time I thought our fraternity was about removing barriers. It seems to me that we put more in front of us than we're removing. The question becomes, when we talk about chaos or community, if we are to uplift our community like our founders intended us to do, then we can't cause chaos within our own and expect to move forward. You see, brothers, a lot of times our issue, our dilemma, our challenge revolves around our first cardinal principle called manhood. Somewhere along the line in the African American community, it became difficult for something that's very simple to define and objectively ascertain what the qualities of manhood really are. For example, in the Jewish community, it's relatively simple. You become a man from a boy at what age? 13. It's celebrated in the community by what? And I would venture to say, just guesstimating, that there may not be that many people of the Jewish persuasion here in this room today, but we all know what those parameters for manhood are. If I asked you, at what age does a black man become a black man from a boy to a man, what age would you say? Brothers, I heard a lot of mumbling and murmurs. I heard 18 to 35. Heard some frustrated brothers say never. How are we ascertaining when we come to manhood, and why is that such a difficult question for us to be able to answer, when very simply we just answered it in other communities, but we can't answer it in our own? And then we place all of these external boundaries and barriers on top and try to qualify manhood with things that really, in its true essence, in its true spirit, have nothing to do with the qualities of what manhood is about. Because manhood is defined based on your values, who you are as an individual, and what you believe in. What are you willing to die for? What do you share with your brothers, with your family? If we're all college-educated men, that means we should all share the value of what? Education. It's very simple, relatively straightforward, but those values take action. And those values require consistent discipline to be able to fully manifest what they are and desire to be. Before I begin to speak, brother, we're announced with the scholarship awards and them fulfilling their values of education, but we can't say we believe in something in one word and then do something completely different in another. We can't say and uphold the values of education like we just saw these brothers and scholars of the year, but we're sitting in class, texting and tweeting as the professor is talking, and checking Instagram and Facebook, when you're supposed to be focused on what it is that we've been all called to do. See, when we talk about chaos and community, the question really becomes, how much of this chaos are we causing for ourselves? And on a deeper level, how much of this chaos do we continue to let into our fraternity? The fact of the matter is that if these people that we're bringing in, our younger brothers, our newer brothers, don't hold these values of manhood, these rights and responsibilities, things that fully define what a man is, then we might need to second guess whether they need to be a member of our fraternity. You see, as great as Omega Psi Phi is, 1, 2, 3 Greek letters can't make you something that you're not already. And the problem becomes that we try to qualify and try to make something into something that doesn't exist already. Just because you put on a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey with the number 23 doesn't mean you won't play like LeBron. Just because you sit in a garage doesn't make you a car. Just because you put on Omega Psi Phi doesn't entitle you to manifest the legacy of the people that built this organization before you. You have to make sure you put in the work to add to that legacy that was already built and preserve what we have for the future when we're talking about moving forward with our community. At the end of the day, brothers, I want to leave you with this. Thoughts to think about as we talk about how to better impact our community and uplift our community. And it revolves around what we already know. The challenge becomes not trying to make it something different. Stop dehumanizing each other as black men. Don't talk out of both sides of your mouth and say, oh, how can the police do this to these brothers and you treat your own brothers just as bad, if not worse. It's easy to point the finger somewhere else. Start pointing it at yourself. And try to look in the mirror and improve who you are as a brother. It's like some of y'all know all this information, but don't apply everything you know. You can ask a brother all these questions, and they can answer all these challenges, and you ask them, well, what are you doing right now? I'm not doing nothing. Well, you missed the whole point, brother. What good is it if you can tell me all this information and you're not at the right station in life right now? What good is it if you can tell me, oh, excuses are tools of the incompetent used to build bridges and monuments of nothingness, and every time I ask you to do something for the fraternity, all you give me is what? Excuses. No, brother. You missed it. Part of that process was to better prepare you for life. Part of that process was to learn those tools and learn those things that are necessary and apply them to increase and improve your efficiency and your positive impact on the people around you. When we have the question before us, where do we go from here? Chaos or community? The answer is very simple. The answer is community. But that part of the word community revolves around unity, which we all know that we dwell in. But unity is an static principle. You got to work at that. And some of y'all have people in your chapter that you don't like. Some of y'all have LBs that you don't like. That's okay, because y'all got people in your family that you don't like. Y'all know how the family reunion, you see cousin such and such coming, here we go. That's okay. You don't have to like them, but you do have to respect them. And part of that brotherhood, part of those values revolve around respect. You have a duty. All the brothers in this room that when you see other brothers treating people in our fraternity worse than they treat strangers, that's a problem. Are you going to talk to that person in the real world the same way you talk to that brother that you just did? I don't think so. So why are you accepting that in our fraternity? That's unacceptable. We're Omega men. We rise above the level of mediocrity. We're excellent in everything we do. And it's not compartmentalized, where we excellent here and then over here is kind of raggedy, and then over here we're going to run late, and over here, and then we just say, oh, no, that's just the bruh. No, that's not just the bruh. We're Omega men. And it's a lifelong commitment, and it's a process.
I need a vegetarian.
And it's not easy.
Okay, here.
Many of you heard in this room before, the same way I heard. It's harder to be an Omega than it is what? To pledge Omega. And I never understood that, especially going through the process. I said, no, this is impossible. It can't be anything harder than becoming an Omega. But when you enter the fold and you really try to put in work, you understand exactly what that means. Brothers, especially my undergraduate brothers, I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of you for being here. I'm proud of you for being in our fraternity. And I'm proud of you for where you are at your station in life in college right now. I want you to take that where you are and build. You control the culture of what our organization is, and you control what it becomes. And as you move forward and make that choice between chaos and community, you challenge each other in your chapter. You challenge each other in your state. You challenge each other in your area to redefine what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. And just saying that that's the bruh is unacceptable. As Omega men, we taking an oath, and we live that oath, and we continue to persevere every single day. Chaos or community, we know the choice. Where do we go from here? Omega men, it's up to you. Thank you and God bless.